Do you need something easy and quick that the whole entire family will love and get you plenty of leftovers? Hi, my name's Chef Ellie, and today I'll be teaching you an easy, homemade, made by scratch pancake recipe. Now, first thing you're going to need a large bowl for your dry ingredients and a medium-sized bowl for your wet ingredients. I recommend doing this because if something goes wrong with one or the other, you can always restart easier versus having to redo the whole entire thing if you just add it all together. Now, first things first, you're going to need all-purpose flour. You're going to need cane sugar, which is granulated. You're going to need baking powder. You're going to need milk, and you're going to need an egg and some butter. You need all-purpose flour. That is something that you can't necessarily exchange. Any type of milk. I like to use stick butter because that's what works best for me with measuring. And I think you can use anything that you want to. Alright, now let's get started. First thing we're going to need is a cup and a half of all-purpose flour. Try to level it out as much as you can so it's about as close to the measurement as possible. So you can take a knife or the handle of one of your measuring spoons that we're going to need later and just slide it over your measuring cup to get it leveled. Like so. And now I have a cup of flour. Today I'm going to be using something to sift the flour with because it prevents less clumping and makes it a lot fluffier. So that is what I'm going to be doing today. There's the 1 cup. Since we are going to be using 1/4 of a cup later, I'm just going to be using 1/4 of a cup now. Get our spoon again and level it out. 1. 2. Now I'm going to put this away or set it aside out of my way. Now I'm going to take the sifter and I'm going to shake it for all the flour to go through. And now we're done with our flour. Next, we're going to be putting our baking powder in. You need 3 3.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Trust me, that sounds like a lot, but it isn't. So I'm going to take my teaspoon, scoop it in there, and dump it in. You want your measurements to be as level as possible, and this little lip is what helps me do that. This is the baking powder that I used. I cannot pronounce that, so never mind. If you find it, you find it. Next, I'm going to need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Again, you're trying to make it as level as possible. Alright, now, as I said before, we're going to be using this 1/4 cup again. 1/4 cup of sugar. This is the sugar that I use. level as possible. And add it in. Now, I like to add something a little special to my recipe. Let me come over here and find it. Let's come. I like to add cinnamon to my pancakes because I think they taste a lot better with that. So you can try that at home. It's an optional thing. You don't have to. Just, I prefer to add some cinnamon. Now, we're going to take our whisk and whisk all of our dry ingredients together. Keep whisking until it looks good to you. This is what my batter is looking like so far. So now, I am going to start warming up my butter. I'm going to take a knife, and you see these little lines that are right here? Well, I'm going to go to the third one, which would be 3 tablespoons. Cut it, and I'm going to get a completely separate bowl. I recommend glass, not plastic. Stick it in there, put a cover on top so butter doesn't go everywhere, and microwave it. I recommend starting with 30 seconds. If it's still not melted, mix it up a little bit, and then 10 more seconds. Still not there, mix it up a little bit more, 10 more seconds. Now that we're done with our butter, we're going to put it in a safe place. Now, let's start on our wet ingredients with that butter getting all warmed up. You're going to need 1 egg. I recommend starting with the egg first and not the milk, in case you get any shells. There's our butter. I don't know if you can see, but my butter isn't completely melted, so I'm going to go grab a fork and mix it up a little bit. If it's still not all combined, then I'm going to microwave it for another 10 seconds. You want your butter to be completely melted so that it's easy to mix in to your batter. And just with mixing, it's completely dissolved. So now we're going to set this aside so it cools off. Now we're going to take our milk, we're going to take our measuring cup for liquids, and we're going to add 1 1/4 cups of milk. There's 1. And 1/4. Now it doesn't matter what type of milk you use. Brand-wise, I just recommend using cow's milk. Today I used whole grain. Well, not whole grain. Whole milk. Now I'm going to take the same fork I mixed up with my butter, and now I know it's not a big deal. Okay, I'm going to stab my yolk, and then I'm just going to mix it up, like so.
You know what I just did to Charlie? So I was opening the gate, and I totally just fucking smushed him between the door and the gate. Because I didn't realize he was right there. There you go, push you. Oh no!
Oh,
Poor Charlie Bear.
poor Charlie.
I'm so sorry, baby.
Look what you did. Now another extra thing that I like to add into my pancakes is a splash of vanilla. Yeah, I'm chefing it out, man.
Why? That's a lot more than just a splash.
That's a splash.
No, a splash is like a whoop.
A splash.
No.
Like maybe a capful or two.
Two. Definitely two.
Get out! That guest star was my older sister, Raina, in case you're wondering. Now I'm going to feel our butter. If your hands are clean, recommend just sticking your pinky in there. It's nice and cold-ish. Now you're just going to add it in. You're going to mix it up. Alright. Now you're going to set that aside for a second and bring back the bowl with the dried ingredients. You're going to take your whisk and try your best to make a little well in the middle of your bowl. Just move all the dry ingredients to the sides, creating a well. Like so. Before anybody comes for me, I know these aren't the best camera angles. Now we are going to add our wet ingredients. And now we're going to mix in the well. We're going to take some from the sides, bring it into our well and mix it up. Take some from the sides, bring it to our well and mix it up. And you're just going to continue doing that until it's completely mixed. You're going to mix until it's completely together. I don't know how to completely combined. There we go. And until there's no lumps in your batter. Like that. Now, I personally don't like my pancake batter to be a little too thick. So I take a fork, put it in my batter. If it falls through, then it's good. But if it's staying on top like it is, I gotta add some water. So I'm gonna take my measuring cup. I'm gonna go grab some water from the sink. Doesn't matter whether or not it's filtered. You can filter it if you want to. I'm not today, but that's your choice. Now you're just gonna add a little bit in. Get your fork out of there. Now you're gonna mix some more. If you're wondering why my water is white, it's because there's still a little bit of milk left in there. So it's not because there's something wrong with my water, okay? Still seems too thick, so I'm just going to add a little bit more. You want to take small steps at a time, a little bit at a time. Because if you add too much, it's harder to reverse that than it is to make it thinner. Now, a pro to this recipe is that you don't need to put any butter on your pan when you cook. since there's already butter in your batter. And you don't need any special non-stick pan or anything. See, that looks a lot better. It's going there a lot faster and whatnot. I'm more happy with that batter. But I'm still going to add a little bit more water to make it just a little bit thinner so that you get more out of it. If you want to add milk instead of water, I'm pretty sure that would be fine too. Just I like to add water. Now I'm going to check it. Now that's a lot better. Alright, now we got to warm up our pan. So, I specifically like to use a square frying pan, but you can also use a griddle or a large round frying pan. The square one just works specifically for me. You do whatever works for you. Now I'm going to put that on medium heat. For my stove, it would be 5, but for your stove, it might be different. Now we're just going to wait until it warms up. To test whether or not it's warm enough, you're going to take just a small amount of water in your hand and put it on your pan. And if it evaporates, which is it boiling off, then you're fine. You can start cooking. I hope you didn't get rid of your 1/4 cup because we still need it. I recommend cleaning up as you go because it's a lot easier after, once you're done with everything and after you enjoyed your meal, maybe making your kids do the after dinner chores, which would be cleaning up the kitchen, dishes. I recommend helping them out by cleaning as you go. So I'm going to go put these in the sink real quick. Now we wait. Actually, I'm going to put more things away. So I'll be back. Since I was at the sink, I took just a small amount of water and put it on the pan to see if it was ready yet. And it's not. So until that water evaporates, then the pan's not hot enough. Now, while we're waiting, let's talk about some great side dishes to go with these pancakes. So, bacon. Bacon's a great choice. This is basically breakfast or dinner. So you have bacon, you got scrambled eggs, you got fried eggs, you got sausage. You can even, if you want to, if you're really that hungry, make an omelet or something. Now, with me particularly, pancakes are like any time meal because they're one of my favorite foods. So I'll eat them for lunch, I'll eat them for breakfast, but I do say they are fantastic fresh. So this is more of a smaller recipe. It'll probably give you, let's see, if you have a family of 4, which is my family, if you thin out the batter like I did earlier, and if you use the 1/4 cup, it'll probably give you about 12, maybe 16 pancakes. But if you decide to double the recipe, it'll probably give you 24 to 32 pancakes, which that's a lot. So, I'm going to go check the pan, see if it's hot enough. So I'll be back. Now our pan You see how the water is evaporating? That means it's hot enough. So now I'm gonna grab my batter. I'm gonna set it next to my stove. I'm gonna grab my 1/4 cup, and I'm just gonna scoop some into that 1/4 cup. Wipe off any of the drips. Wipe off more of the drips. Like this, it's still dripping. And I'm just gonna pop it on there. This is about how big the pancake is if you use the 1/4. Now I could fit probably about 3 pancakes on there to cook at a time. Wipe off the drips. Set it on there. Now, you're gonna need a spatula. If you have drips running off your bowl, just take a paper towel and wipe them off or something. I also, in advance, recommend grabbing a plate to put them on. And if you plan on eating them tonight or sooner, I recommend starting your oven on the lowest setting you possibly have and putting the plate in there with the cover on top. And when they cook, just put them in there when they're done, and it keeps them nice and warm. Now I'm going to grab my spatula. Spatula. You see how the pancakes are beginning to bubble? That's a good sign that they're cooking right. Now, I'll show you when they get to that point, but what you're looking for with the pancakes, because I don't put a timer, you look for those bubbles that I just showed you to be more defined and to start staying instead of filling in with more batter, and the edges will start to look really dry. And if you think they're ready before that, a great way to test it is to see if your spatula, if it slides right under there. If it doesn't, if it gets stuck, then that normally means that they are not ready to be flipped. Now with pancakes, with cooking pancakes, you really just want to sit and watch, because if you decide to go and to do something or go talk to mom or something, your pancakes can burn, and that's not very good. That's not tasty whatsoever. Alright, now that they've cooked a little bit more, I don't know if you can see, right around here, it looks kind of dry. And see how the bubbles are starting to stay? Same with the one over here. See that edge? Looks dry. So to test and see if it's ready to flip, take the spatula, slide it under, slide it just fine, and then you flip it. And would you look at that? Now we got ourselves a pancake. Now, you're gonna wait, let it cook on the other side. The other side is kind of just more of a guessing game. A great way to test the other side is, like I said earlier, with the spatula. Slide it under. If it goes under, that normally means it's done. But if it doesn't, that means it's still cooking. Whoop. And now we're waiting. Sometimes with pancakes, they like to rise. You know, they get really puffy and whatnot, but sometimes the batter isn't cooked enough in the middle. So if you see that happening, or if you see just one area getting really puffy and the rest of it's just flat, I recommend taking your spatula and pressing down on the pancake. Like this, if you can see. I can't figure out how to turn my camera around because I'm recording. It's not exactly working. Take a picture of me, but it won't do the other stuff. Now I'm going to see the pancake's ready. Sliding under. It slid under just fine, so it is definitely ready. Oh yeah, nice and golden brown under there. Most of the time, the middle of your pan is hotter than anywhere else. So when you're first starting, I recommend putting your pancakes there. But once your pan starts warming up some more, then you can put them wherever you want. And there you go. Now I have pancakes started, and that's how you cook and make pancakes. I hope you learned something, and I hope you try this recipe out at home. I definitely recommend it. This is the only recipe that I particularly use, and I am a pancake fanatic, okay? But I hope you try this at home. Have a great day. See you later.